Amen.
Amen. Amen.
Well, thank you all for coming so much. It's great. Some of you already know, and it's great to meet some new people. So what I wanted to start out doing first is introduce you to someone that you may already know, and if you don't, you're going to want to know. So Larry, could you introduce yourself?
Well, I will be glad to. Well, first of all, again, welcome as well, and thank you for being a part of this evening as we try to find all the virtual ways to communicate to as many people as possible all about the Russell School of Ministry. As Anita mentioned, I'm Larry Travis, and been in ministry a long time, I think 44 years in the pastoral ministry. I was at CCU for about 16 years as a professor, the campus minister. My last 6 years, I worked alongside Dave Faust as vice president, or one of them. And it was just a few months ago, as I, of course, kept up with, as best I could, all the different things were happening after CCU went down. And I'm so excited about a number of things that are happening that include the Christian Church Leadership Network, the library. But the one part that I've become involved with in a more direct way is the Russell School of Ministry. And just a few months ago, I got a wonderful call from Bobby asking if I would help out with some of the storytelling and some of the recruiting. And my schedule is so that I'm being able to do that. And so what I'm doing for the school essentially is contacting people, telling them about RSM, what we're trying to accomplish and how we're going about it. And it has been really, really exciting. I've had a number of people that I've talked to, and after sharing with them about many of the things that Bobby's going to share with you tonight, the response, even today, I had another one after our morning roundtable. There was a pause, and then the person said, wow. And I hope that is the way you feel tonight. Wow. We believe in ministry. This school is all about ministry. We hope that the very best parts of CCU are going to continue because we believe in training people to be the best they can be, what God has called them to do for ministry and the future. Our world is changing dramatically right before our eyes. It has been for a while, but I'm excited that we are going to be on the front end of helping leaders, older, younger, those who are searching for a new way to find their place in what God has called them to do. And so tonight's going to go a long way. The one thing I've asked every person to do, and let me ask you to do this tonight after everyone finishes, is be a great advocate for us. We don't have a place where we can invite people to come to. There's no conferences or anything like that during this time. And so if you would be our mouth out there, be our heart, tell people about this ministry as you get excited about it, will be incredible. And then, of course, if there are any students that you know about, you're the one who knows the people. So if you know people who this ministry would fit, then tell them about it. Contact me, contact any one of us, get on the website, tell them about this ministry because we would love to bless them. And the one thing I love about this ministry, that's what it's about. Our opportunity to bless them and give them an opportunity to be trained in a way that is brand new and exciting. And so thank you for being with us tonight. I look forward to meeting all of you.
Yeah.
Thank you, Larry. And so for me, my name is Anita Reidner, and on this team, I'm going to be the field residency director, and I'll be partnering students with the field site that's going to mentor and train them in the ministry that God has called them to. Previously, before coming here to Russell School of Ministry, I transitioned off staff at Whitewater Crossing, where I'd been the student director for almost 9 years. I was just a few months shy of being the director there for 9 years of the student ministry. And it was time. I was tired. I needed to rest a little bit, but I felt in my soul that God wasn't done, but I didn't know what he was going to do yet. And so I'll talk a little bit more later, but it'll all tie together why I felt like this might be where he was calling me to. But just to introduce myself a little bit of my background, that's who I am. And Bobby Jackson.
Yes. Hey, so thanks guys really for being here tonight. The quick snapshot for me is I spent about 20 years in ministry and then came to CCU, Cincinnati Christian University, about 5 years ago. when I came, I thought it was kind of strange that we read a bunch of books, write a bunch of papers, and somebody says you're ready for ministry, because many folks weren't. And so we began right away to create a program where students would both be involved in the local church pretty heavily and be learning at the same time. And that's just kind of morphed into what we're doing here in some ways. And so we've tried to take kind of the best of what CCU was doing. A lot of people don't know, but Cincinnati Christian University is a university made up of several different schools. And one of those schools within the university was this Russell School of Ministry. And the school really began around this heart of ministry. But over the years, we added a lot of other programs and sports teams and buildings and all these different things, and eventually became too large, and the whole thing just kind of collapsed. It wasn't very sustainable. And anybody that's been around higher education, college education for a while, is starting to realize, hey, this is kind of a bubble that needs to pop, right? It's expensive, it's cumbersome, it's good learning and all of that, but a lot of students still aren't quite ready for ministry when they finish that. And so we've kind of had the opportunity to step back. And the way I've been describing is CCU is kind of being bulldozed. We're going to pluck the school out of CCU. The CCU is going to be bulldozed, and then we're going to replant the school kind of in the city of Cincinnati. So as CCU was closing, there's some folks that came along and said, hey, we love ministry training. We think there's no school like ours in an urban setting. So we kind of understand that a little bit. There's nobody that's doing, a residency program like you guys are. We'd hate for that to go away. Is there any way that you could stick around and kind of replant this school and make it go? And so that's what we're about so far. And as it's developed, it's become really exciting. I'll try to describe it in large portion tonight, and then take your questions. So there's a chat box there. If you're used to Zoom at all, you can submit a question or rude remark or whatever you want in that little chat box as we go along. So, and we'll try to get to your questions as we go along. So, all right, so this will be fun for the next few minutes. We'll unmute you all, and we'll just see. This, again, could be really messy, could be really fun. I don't know, somewhere in between, but or you can unmute yourself. Apparently, I'm not allowed to unmute you for some reason, but you can unmute yourself. And what I want to do is just take a few minutes to say, hey, listen, let's just be honest. Here are a few issues when it comes to like ministry training, higher education, university setting. Here's a few things that have always bothered me about it. Here are a few reasons why I don't think it really works. So let's just take a minute. Anything goes. You can just kind of share your heart in this moment if you would. Here's a few things that maybe needed to change about higher ed. I'm thinking out loud. Those will be better out loud. Yeah. Yeah. Go ahead and share those. What do you got?
Well, I just completed a year and a half ago seminary, and I found it to be here's your textbook, here's your homework, let's get it done, turn in your paper, take your tests, and that's pretty much what it was. And so most of the training that I needed for what I'm doing came outside of that. So I think that I talked to Anita. I think that on the boots on the ground training for whatever field you're going into is the utmost importance. Mm-hmm. We can no longer put people out. I do sex trafficking, so I can't put somebody in the building with me if they're not grounded in Christ, number one. And then number two, they have no, they graduate school and then they come in and they have no idea what this even looks like. They've read a few articles, seen a few things that touch their heart, but then they're like, they come in and it's not what they thought it was. I recently had a missionary that she'd been a missionary since 18 with me, came home from the mission field, and she felt like the Lord gave her a vision and this is what she was supposed to be doing until she got into doing it. And then it gets messy, and it can be very taxing and very frustrating and very cyclical, and she's seeing not a lot of soul winning, so to speak. So she got very disenchanted with it. So I think that we need to do a better job of helping folks really navigate how how this ministry they're going into looks, and give them the 911, if you so to speak. So let them get in it, let them get in the messy and really experience it.
That's great. That's great. Good point. Good. What else?
I kind of just come from my son's perspective, being a CCU student that ended up transferring to Cedarville University for this past year. And I can just tell you that what's exciting about this is I think the biggest thing he missed was being able to be an intern at a church, connected to a church in ministry while studying at the same time. And, I told him, from my perspective, and golly, I'm almost 50 now, but what he was experiencing, I think, at Cedarville was more, I would just call it typical. Like, you go to a school town where you're isolated on this campus. If every ministry student wanted to be connected to a church, it'd almost be impossible unless they're driving to Columbus or to Dayton. And so I said, you're actually getting what most of us guys got. I'm a minister. And, we basically were in the classroom. In the classroom, we had to find a job in the summer, or we had that one field ministry class you had to take to graduate, where we got to talk to a minister for a semester, do a few things. I said, I think he realized, wow, how great it was to be able to do the teaching church at CCU at the same time, so early. In his time as a student. So I know he's very excited about the Russell School of Ministry, to apply for that and be a part of it. And he's not staying at Cedarville. He's going to be an online student now, and is really, really hoping to get to be a part of this, so that he goes, I went from I'm speaking 3 times a month at a church. I'm buying groceries for youth ministry. I'm in staff meetings with church. I went from that to suddenly only being in the classroom, dorm, or library. And I'm not speaking. I'm not playing music. I'm not in staff meetings. And it was a whiplash, really. So I think that what I would say from my perspective as a dad, and hearing my son talk, is this is a godsend to have Russell School of Ministry available in this area. I felt a gaping hole in Cincinnati when CCU closed, because what other opportunity? There are opportunities there, but nothing like what we were having before. And you're exactly right. There's an urban environment that is just very unique in the greater Cincinnati area that is great for preparing for ministry. And so I'm excited about this opportunity for him.
Man, that's encouraging to hear on so many fronts. Of course, we love Cameron. It's hard not to, but thankful that he's gravitating back here. We miss him, miss his presence around here.
He misses you guys.
Yeah. Lanaya, anything to add to all that?
I definitely agree with Bill. Just having that option to be able to jump fully into a ministry and be able to see what it's like, to see if I even like it, without having to finish my whole degree, and then realizing like, oh, I could have wasted my time if I wasn't given the opportunity to, actually see what ministry is going to be like, if it's going to be for me, if it's not. And so I completely love and support that we are able to be in a church all 4 years.
Man, well, it sounds like you guys are somewhat aware of this program already, which is making our job really easy tonight. I'm thankful to hear that. And I just want to say from the outset, like, our heart beats the same as yours, right? When you say, hey, I want to get my hands dirty in ministry, right? I don't want to just read about it. Again, that was one of the most striking things to me about Cincinnati is, well, if I read enough books, maybe I'm going to be a good minister. Like, it's not the only thing that we need. We don't need just knowledge. As a matter of fact, it's hard to get hired without experience anymore. So we were purposefully building that in when we were piloting this with CCU, and when CCU folded, we were able to kind of expand it actually at this point. And so I want to describe that a little bit tonight, maybe even using some of these things that you just mentioned. So I'll try to run through it pretty quickly here, especially if you're already a little bit familiar with it, and describe some of the highlights of what we've come out of this. So one of the first things that when we said, hey, if we're going to create a new school that's actually going to help ministry folks, one of the things that always trips up ministry folks is they go to college and they have to spend tens of thousands of dollars, right, to do this. And it burdens their marriage. It burdens their ministry. It handcuffs them a lot of times. It's always this weight in the back of their mind for years, a lot of times. And I said, so if we're going to really do this well, it has to be 100% scholarship for every single student who ever comes to the RSM. We're going to have to raise funds from churches and donors, and every single student that gets to come to the Russell School Ministry will come for 100% scholarship. If their church offers scholarship, we'll take it. We need it, right? If they get some scholarship from some organization, we'll take it. We need it. But in the end, their bill will say $0 every single time for every single student. That's a commitment that we've made, and we're going to hold to that. I'm so thankful. And then the guys who are fundraisers, they kind of swallowed hard and they go, oh, okay. If that's what it needs to be, that's what we're going to do. I was really appreciative of their faith and stepping out that way, and said, so once that domino fell into place, that we don't have to have government loans and we don't have to have students pay $10,000 a semester. Once that domino fell into place and said, no, we're doing this, we're doing it this way, then every other domino began to fall and say, well, if we don't have to have, 100 students come in, we can have 20 of the right students come in. We don't have to just have like buildings and professors and have to meet some quota in order to do it. Let's just do the very best thing. Let's do a few things outrageously well and actually help the kingdom and help these people, again, graduate with zero debt. So to us, that was a big deal. Now, what we offer, since we're brand new, we've just started. CCU closed in December. We're opening in August. There's not a huge window there for starting a new school. And so what we're offering is we're starting with just ministry. Let's just do ministry courses really, really well. And let's do this residency and internship really, really well. And so that's what we're focusing on for this very first fall, well, for this very first bit of our school. Say, let's do some things really well. Again, humbly, I think better than anyone in the world, because it's labbed in the church, or it's labbed in an organization like you're leading, Scarlett. Like, people are getting that kind of real world experience. We feel like that plus the classroom really has created some of the best students. I was a graduate of Cincinnati Christian University, but I think our best students ever in the history of the school were coming through in these last 3 years. They were hungry. They understood ministry. They'd been exposed to ministry in some neat ways. And that's part of the big grief surrounding that school closing for me, was not to be able to see that come to fruition. But God is a God that resurrects things. He is a God that redeems things. And I believe that that's part of this journey for us right now. So if you want to be part of the Russell School Ministry, there's a kind of a high vetting process, right? We get to be selective because we don't have to have any particular student's money. So we want to put great people in churches and organizations and make it absolutely free for them. So that's what we're doing. It's also like we are working with other schools. I know there's some students that'll come in and they'll say, hey, I want more than just ministry training and an internship. I want a full degree. So what we've done is we've kind of reached out to some partners, Central Christian College of the Bible, Hope University, even locally in Northern Kentucky, Gateway Community College. And we said, hey, if they took all of our courses and all of our internship, would you take that and put it into your degree? And then they can take your classes and get a full degree. So what we're really offering is kind of this ministry training program. It's the equivalent of about a third of a traditional bachelor's degree. So, and you take it completely 100% scholarship. And some people, that's all they want. They said, I've got a high capacity volunteer. They don't need a degree. They just need ministry training. Great. We'll do that. It's the same thing. They're going to be labbed in the local church. They're going to learn some core courses and they're going to be ready to go. Others say, hey, I want more than that. I want to learn all that ministry, and I want that great experience in the church, but I also want to take a full degree. We'd say, great, no problem. We have a path for you there too. You'll take all of our stuff, $0, and then you'll transfer it into one of a couple of different schools already and be able to get kind of your full ministry degree or full degree from them. Does that make sense so far? Mm-hmm. All right. I haven't lost you yet. That's good. One of the other big things for us is we said, hey, it's great that we have colleges that have people with doctorates, and I love that the researchers, and there's nothing bad with that. However, in the new Russell School of Ministry, I really want to have more practitioners, people that are killing it in ministry, to be the instructors in a given class. And so we want to make it really relevant that way, that what we're teaching in the classroom isn't, somebody that hasn't practiced ministry in 20 years. We want people that are in the trenches right now, working out right now this COVID idea, like how are we working this out as a church? We want those types of things to come into the classroom from real world scenarios. It's one thing for me to sit back and say, hey, here's how you handle homosexuality in your church, right? And you have these kinds of conversations. Here's what the Bible says about it. All that's fine. And we'll still do that. But it's different when you're sitting across the table from somebody who's a homosexual and they're struggling, and you have to have that conversation. And so what we've done is we put that theological with the practical and said, hey, even in our courses, we're going to have people that are in that kind of trenches that are going to come in and speak on that subject. And then they're going to get some real world, practice doing all kinds of conversations in the churches or the organizations that they're a part of. And then one of the big things you guys have already hit on, you said, hey, one of the problems with higher ed is that people, they just don't get experience. They can go and sit in a classroom and hit the library, and that's their whole experience. So we took that model from CCU and expanded it in this role and said, hey, half of the time that you spend with the Russell School of Ministry is going to be in the church. It's going to be in the local church. Half of we think it's that important. So half of their education, as far as the Russell School of Ministry is concerned, is with people like you. And we say, hey, I feel like I can teach a student how to have a perfect meeting. There's a lot of wasted meetings in churches. I think I can sit in a classroom and say, hey, listen, you got to have an agenda. You got to have time. You got to do this. I think I can say it, but until they've sat through in the real world some good and bad meetings, they don't care as much about it. What we found even at CCU as it was closing is those people that had experienced things, they'd experienced their staff struggling. They'd experienced, trying to recruit a volunteer. Then when they came back to the classroom and I talked about how to recruit a volunteer, they were hungry. They had real world experience that they could bring into the classroom. So it made the classroom better. And the things that we were learning in there then translated into their church world really well. So they could actually do, and when you put those two together, I think, and this is how ministry training should always have been. We need to spend some time. So our residency program is at least 2 years working with somebody who's a full-time mentor, who's not just sending you off, but is really pouring into you every week. So from a high level, I tell people you have to have two or three things to really be a good mentor. You need to have real ministry happening, right? There's always some cleaning out closets in a church, and we don't mind some of that, but there needs to be real ministry. And our students had been given real ministry opportunities, real responsibilities, real leadership in their churches. I loved it. Real ministry and real mentorship, right? So if you're the youth minister and you have a resident, you don't suddenly say, hey, that resident's got the night, I'm going to go kick back and eat Doritos and play video games. No, you're in the room with them. You're pouring in, you're watching them so that you can pour into them throughout the week. So it's real ministry, it's real mentorship. And we want you to invest in that person. And so that means during their senior year, they're going to be working 20 hours every week with you for the whole year. It's part of their training. And so we don't want them working at Chipotle. We don't want them working at McDonald's, trying to be distracted and trying to do school and trying to work with you. So we've asked all of our partners so far we have 18 churches and organizations that said, yes, we will take care of them their senior year. We will pay them their senior year so that their final year, so that they don't have to be distracted and they can be completely with us 20 hours a week. And so all of that put together, we feel like has really set up the student to be in a great place. Anita, I know you're kind of overseeing our whole residency. Anything you'd add to that picture there?
Yeah, I just want to take it from my personal experience. So when I was at Whitewater, sometimes you get lucky enough, and anyone in a ministry would know that budget money doesn't come too easily. But every once in a while, they would approve a budget that said you can hire. And so the pick was always really low on hiring, because when I'd start going through those resumes, it looked really good on paper, but there was no experience. When I would bring them in and interview them, I'm like, they're done or almost done, and they're not ready for this world. They'd have no idea what they're stepping into as far as ministry. And I knew they would learn things, but I needed someone, because by the time you can hire in a church, you need someone to get it moving, right? You don't have time to do 2 more years of training. And so that's essentially what I would find happening. I would hire someone that looked really good on paper. They loved Jesus. They had all the knowledge. But when they walked in, I burnt out. I was already at a burnout level, but the burnout was even higher because I'm running at a fast pace. But now I'm having to train this hire that didn't have soft skills. Sometimes, often just took this job because they wanted their foot in the door, but they really weren't called to this position. They didn't really love students. They just wanted in the church for a job. That's never good. And that's what I love about this, because one of the things we start out is like, where is God calling you? Because we're not going to train you up broadly. We really want to fine tune and give you the skills and the training that you need to do what God is calling you. So that's why nonprofits and churches having these partnerships with you are so critical. Because when a girl comes in, Scarlett, and says, I feel God is calling me to sex trafficking, I'm like, I got the woman for you, and so we don't want them to train broadly. We want them to understand what their calling is. But I would sometimes get those that had just stepped in and their heart wasn't in it, and it was a strain trying to make them just do your job, man.
Mm-hmm.
Love teenagers. And it was hard. It was exhausting. And it was exhausting to them too, because they didn't have the skill to do it. So it was not a win for anybody. And so then along the way, I started doing this teaching church. And what Bobby's referring to when he says teaching church is what CCU was already doing, but it's now called the residency program. They came to me and said, hey, we got these teaching church students we want to send to you for you to mentor. They want to be youth directors. And said, okay, great. So I got 1, and then I got 2. And as I watched this, I realized this works. This really works. And I just began to mold. And my role was to not have them being the ones to check somebody in every week. My role was, I want to be able to hand you the keys to this ministry when I'm finished. So they were going to be in on the meetings. They were going to plan the stuff. In fact, they had a lot to offer. So it was really, really working. And plus, I came from a very non-traditional background. I didn't do this higher education. I never stepped one day into seminary until I'm working here now. And I had a very non-traditional bringing into becoming a Christian and even stepping into ministry. I wasn't pursuing it at all. And it just kept finding me, and I found Scarlett along the way too with that. But so yeah, I found that it really, really, really worked. And so what I will do in the residency program is that students that come and are accepted, they'll spend some time visiting the different sites. You'll explain your ministry. They may even see it in operation depending on what it is. And then we bring them back and we work with them to pair them with the right site. We call it the field site. And so that's what I'll be doing. But this does work. And since I've been here, I've seen what Bobby was saying, these students that I've produced. I can't wait to meet Cam face to face. I really can't. I already call him Cam and he doesn't, I can't wait. But what I have seen from these students is they are the real deal. They're out there doing it. And Bobby has a little bit of a video to show you, to let you see what it looks like in a residency program.
Yeah, sure. Let me just call that up real quickly.
I
Make sure
put that
I've
on
got
you
it.
real fast, didn't I?
Nope, you're good. You're good. There we go. Yeah, this is helpful, I think, because a lot of people don't always have a concept. So we asked some of our students to describe a little bit what they do in this program. So hopefully you'll be able to see this fine and hear this fine. Let me know if you can't.
Opportunity, educational,
experiential,
preparational,
immersive, that's a good one,
and blessing. I'm Kayla Mead. I am a second-year experienced team intern at Crossroads Florence through the Russell School of Ministry. I love worship ministry because it's a way for me to connect with God through music, and it's the way that I fulfill my calling in bringing others to Christ.
I love serving the urban community with Block because I love the people that I serve alongside of, as well as the people that I get to serve. I love working with the kids that I get to form a relationship with and show them the love of Jesus and who Jesus is, if they may or may not know him yet.
Yeah, so during the week, I get to hang out with students on Sundays and Wednesdays throughout the week, and that looks like getting to play games with them, whether that's, Mario Kart on the Switch, or dodgeball, or basketball, or pickleball. I get to teach and participate in small groups, and it's just a really cool opportunity to be able to build relationships with them.
During the week, you will probably see me on Wednesday at Oakley, which is our broadcast site. I'm going to all staff trainings, going to specific staff trainings, going to worship leader meetings, and spending some time with the staff in general. On Thursdays, you'll probably see me around here getting ready for rehearsal, so that includes cleaning and labeling in-ears, labeling the packs, printing off chord charts, setting up the stage, and I normally help the sound tech get the console ready, set up the stage, and get ready for rehearsal. Saturdays and Sundays, I'm here for walkthroughs, run-throughs, and all 3 services.
My fieldwork at Block has taught me how to better serve and love people just like Jesus did, and work with people that sometimes can really be difficult, but we have to keep persisting and showing them love, no matter if they keep pushing us away.
Being able to go through RSM and get fieldwork experience was really cool. It gave me an opportunity to see what it's like to really work in a church. It gave me an opportunity to really see what it looks like to be a part of student ministry and experience alongside these students the things that they're going through and the challenges that they're encountering in life. And it's just been it was a really cool educational experience. I would recommend the RSM program because it gives you an awesome alternative to traditional undergrad ministry education. It's not like just being in a classroom, but you get to take what you're learning and talking about in the classroom and apply it to real life situations, hands-on in an actual church.
It gets you ready for your career field in ministry, and it gets you exposed to real life situations and just a job, and it gets your foot in the door right away.
Our culture now is really heavy on experience, and so the RSM program is a response to the experience-demanding culture we have today.
Man, I want to go there. Now that's really hopefully that gives you a little picture of what some of the students in the past have, and again, all those things that you guys mentioned about, like, hey, we really care about them having experience. I remember telling different staff teams, like, hey, if you get together and your resident is there with your staff team, that's really great that they get to kind of see behind the scenes of all that you do. And if your staff team fights, that's great. And if they resolve it well, that's great. And if they don't resolve it well, that's great. Like, all of this becomes really good learning for our students, just to be able to kind of peek behind the curtain. See, we used to have juniors and seniors that were doing education programs at Cincinnati Christian University, and they would start their student teaching, and they would say, man, I didn't realize, but I don't like junior hires at all. I don't know what I was thinking taking this teaching degree, but now I've been in it for 3.5 years and I don't feel like I can quit. But we want to expose them right away to what real church ministry looks like. And kind of burst their bubble a little bit, like Anita said, kind of help them travel around and see some different things there. So we're really a big part of what we're doing. Anita's going to work, as she's working, one of her primary jobs is going to be to teach all of those soft skills and to help our students, learn a lot of that and work with the field residents and the field mentors and help them learn those types of things.
What we're finding too is that a lot of times when people have to mentor, they're like, I don't know how to mentor. And so part of my job will be coaching the coaches. And I'm excited about that. And like, really about only 30% of people really know how to mentor someone. And what they're going to do is their soft skills are going to be sharpened through the learning how to coach. You know how it is when you have to learn something so you can teach something, you're going to be way more prepared and paying attention. So I'm super excited about coaching the coaches so they can coach the students.
Yeah. That's great. Well, I want to leave a little bit of time for question, answer, Q&A. Anything that has kind of hit you so far, you say, I'd like to know a little bit more about that.
As the first question that comes to my mind is, Cameron is still fully deciding, what the other part of his schooling is going to be. And I'd almost forgotten about the Gateway Partnership. Larry had told me about that in a conversation we had. But what I'm anxious to kind of see and figure out for Cameron with everything that's happened with, this would be his second transfer, if you will. We don't know if he is really going to be a junior or not, I guess, to start off in the fall. So I'm thinking, what if he's actually still a sophomore? It's a 2-year Russell School of Ministry program. Is this something where they have to be a junior now to be doing that, or can it start right away no matter where he lies in that?
That's such a great question. I appreciate you asking. Like, we actually have a 2, a 3, and a 4-year version of this, because we know people are going to be in all kinds of different places. The 2-year is probably, if you're just looking to do the ministry portion, 2-year makes a lot of sense. But if you're taking other classes along the way, the 3 and 4-year versions exist for that very reason, to say, hey, I want to do that. Now, if he transfers in as a junior, we're gonna start him right away in that. If he transfers in as a sophomore, we may say, hey, this is a good time for you to do this and to be a part of this. I don't know if he'll go back to the church that he was a resident at before, or what his heart is along those lines, but would work with him again. One of the fun things we get to do is to ask students, not tell students like, here's how cool we are, so come here and be a part of us. We actually get to flip the script a little bit and say, hey, tell us about you. What problem are you really trying to solve? And how can we come alongside you, partner you up with some great mentors, give you some great experiences and some great courses to help you accomplish that problem. Don't just get a certificate, don't just get a degree. Solve what problem in the kingdom are you after? And then how can we help put these experiences and these mentors in your path to help you get that way? And so that would be the route I would imagine taking with Cameron, to say, hey, Cameron, have we refined yet kind of what God's really wanting from you? If it's this, then it sounds like this is the right mentorship, the right place for you. And yeah, let's help make that happen. Or maybe it's a combination of mentors, or maybe a combination of experiences plus these courses is actually going to help you in the end get where you feel like God's wanting you to go. Kind of gets customized for every individual student. Some students are terrible online, so we're going to give them as many in-person classes as we offer, plus Central, plus Gateway. Others are like, no, I love online classes. I love the flexibility of it, so they can go with Hope or Central and take as much online work as they want.
And some are going to work full time. And so being able to decide between 2, 3, 4 years what best works, they've already got a home life and they're balancing a lot of that. And so so they'll look at that, the big picture, what can I actually carry as well?
Yeah, good question. Anything else, Lanai? That's about as quiet as I think I've ever heard you. So I'm just making sure you don't have any questions.
I have one. So with me coming back, will my credits that I have still count, or will it be essentially just me starting over, especially with actually wanting to get the 4-year degree out of it?
Yeah, great question. So the short answer is you want to know for sure. And so what we would do with you is to send everything that you've taken so far, because you want to get a 4-year degree. We'd send everything you've taken so far to both Hope and to Central. And we would say, hey, this girl wants a 4-year degree. What's the best thing you can do for her if she takes, all of our classes or some of our classes? One of the big changes, Lanaya, from when you were in is I think we used to give 6 hours of internship credit or something like that, maybe 9 hours of internship credit when somebody was coming through Cincinnati Christian University. It's now 18 hours of internship. It's hefty. And so even if you came to us and said, hey, I just want to do the internship portion because it's going to fulfill some of my requirements at Hope or at Central, and can I do just the internship portion? The answer is yeah, you can. You're not going to graduate as a Russell School of Ministry, person, but you will have credits that you can transfer into one of those schools.
Sweet, thank you.
Yeah. All right, we were perfect in the presentation. Apparently, have answered every question preemptively. I love it when I would say this. There are 2 things that would be really helpful for us at this point. We believe God wants this to happen. It's been fun to be a part of a journey where we get to basically be a big disruptor for the market. You know, higher ed needed to pop. It was way too expensive. It was cost time, like it was just hard, and there was no experience. And so we get to be a real disruptor to the market right now. We get to say, hey, higher ed needs to change. The way we train ministry folks needs to change. And we're just young and nimble enough that we can disrupt every other school. I like a lot of those other schools, but we're in a unique position right now to offer something unique. And so there are two ways that you can help. And in just a little while, Anita will send you kind of a couple of steps for what might be helpful. So you might want to enroll, right? So you can go to the website at any point, hit get started, and somebody from our team will follow up with you and start asking you those questions about, hey, what problem are you trying to solve, and can we help you do this? So the first thing is, maybe you're a student that wants to come. The second thing is, maybe you know of someone that you think this would be really great. I've got a 20 or 30 something that just feels stuck. They're not sure what they want to do with their life. Why not take some courses that end up as college credit for 100% scholarship? There's almost no reason not to. If they're a qualified person, if they're going to do well in a church or organization, then after we interview them, then there's no reason not to do that. Maybe it's a super volunteer that you say, hey, they don't actually need a degree. They just want some more training, or a second career person that said, hey, I don't need a degree. I've already got several of those. I just want the experience of being in a church. I'm retiring early and I want that. Then great. All of those, and the typical, 18-year-old coming out of high school, all of those folks we're going to work with and give them this kind of training, some courses and some in person. So if you know of someone that you say, hey, this would just be great for, you can do one of two things. You can give us that name and we'll follow up. There's also a form where you can say, I'm recommending this person for the Russell School of Ministry, and we will follow up with them. In my mind, the worst case scenario there is we call them up and we say, hey, Bill thinks you're awesome. He thinks you're ministry material and he recommended you for our school. And they say, nope, I'm not interested at all, but that's really cool that Bill thinks I'm awesome. That's the worst case scenario. The best case scenario is they say, oh, I was thinking about it. I have felt God kind of leading me that way. I just didn't know how I was going to afford it. I didn't know how I was going to do it. And this sounds like a really great opportunity to help me get there. So we don't have a big staff and we don't have, a whole admissions department. And so what we're asking is, hey, would you guys be our recruiters? You know who's out there, who would benefit from this type of thing. And so you can be that student, or you can send us that student, would be really, really helpful to us. And that packet that Anita sends out, there'll also be a place for you to say, hey, I just want, I want to hear more. I want to keep in the loop with you guys. And so we have a newsletter that we send out once a month or so, and we can do that as well. Anita, am I missing anything else on that?
Yeah, the email you're going to get, it's going to have 4 opportunities for you. Okay, so this is what we call a roundtable. And so if you walk away and go, there are a lot of other people that need to know about this, you can sign up to host your own. And basically what you do is you send out an invite to your friends, tell me the date that you want, what time, and we get it all scheduled. I'll send you an invite, and then you send that out, and they register just like you did, and then show up the same very way. So you can do that. The second thing is that, like Bobby was saying, there'll be a referral form. You can put several names on it, and that will come to us as well. And then the newsletter is about a monthly newsletter. It's called The Link. You can sign up to just stay in the know of what's going on. And then what I said in the beginning is that, a lot of times people are like, even in ministry, they become a little self-absorbed of their own ministry. We're not like that. And so we really want to partner with you and support you in this. And so there's going to be a place there, for you prayer. What kind of prayer do you need? We meet every morning at 10 o'clock and we pray for every prayer request we get. We will stay that way. We're praying for our students. We're praying for all kinds of people that send us their prayer requests and stuff like that. So that will be there as well. And it will always be included in the link. Hey, how do you need prayer? How can we support you? And as far as a partnership, we didn't really talk about that, but people usually ask about a partnership. What does it take to be a mentor, to be a site, a residency site? And basically what that is you got to have a full-time staff member that says, yeah, I'll be their mentor and I'm going to really invest in them. And then you got to be willing that last year you would pay them for the 20 hours a week they'll be there, $10 an hour. And we are changing it a little bit. So Bill, if you knew Cameron to go, and Lanaya, this would be different for you too. It used to be, we went to the college schedule. Being someone who mentored a student, I said, this is killing me, because when we get to the hard times like Easter and Christmas, they're gone. Summer, they're gone. And I couldn't really lead them and develop them to the full potential because of all these breaks. So residency is year round. And their senior year, it will be year-round residency. And I think that just makes more sense, that they can get a real idea what staff is and what they act like, and that you actually do have to request a day off, that kind of thing. So you can apply to be a partner with those specifications, that you have a full-time mentor for them, and that you could in your budget manage to pay them that last year. So
yeah, that's great. That's great. So we'll send that out to you in, well, just a little bit. But if you have questions along the way, I know we're putting up like just a questions button on our website. It'll be up soon if it's not up there already. Or you can just reach out to us. And again, we want people to know about what's happening here. So you guys will be our voice in a lot of ways, our recruiters in a lot of ways, and we appreciate that a ton. All right. We will send that to you. I think feels good to kind of close this out in prayer if there aren't any more questions. Okay. All right. Let me pray for us. God, I'm excited about people that are just on the front lines of ministry right now, all that they're doing, and even as this is kind of lifting and we're starting to see a light at the end of the tunnel, I just pray that you'd give them hope. I pray that your church would emerge hopeful and relevant, uniquely positioned to serve its community even more so. I pray that all those folks that were on the fence or maybe checking things out online would be drawn back to a community of believers who are making a difference in your name, that are becoming real disciples of yours. And yes, I pray again for this ministry training opportunity that you've given us here, that we would steward it well, that every student you'd bring to us, whether they're the traditional 18-year-old or they're coming out of retirement, that you would help us to steward that really well, so that your kingdom would be stronger, healthier, more productive than it's ever been, more efficient than it's ever been, producing than it's ever been. I'm grateful for that, and pray that you, by your Spirit, would just bring to mind folks that need to be a part of this place, and then again, by your Spirit, just kind of guide them to be on our radar, so that we can follow up and get them connected this way. Thank you for our time tonight, and I pray that you'd bless all those that are here. God, redeem even the time that they've spent with us here tonight. In Jesus' name, amen.
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 All right, guys. Thanks so much.
Thank you.
Bye.
All right.
Good evening.
All right. Bye.
Bye.
Okay. Not as many folks as I had hoped, but okay.